Hello everyone, I'm recording this on Wednesday, September 12th, but it's for the week of September 10th. We're back with young adult materials and trying to get ready for this week. Obviously, school is canceled all week on campus, but hopefully you'll be able to view this before next Wednesday. Even if you, let me know if you can't. I know a lot of us are in Columbia. We have people in North Carolina. We have people in Virginia. And Hurricane Florence is hanging around for a while. So it hasn't hit here in Columbia yet, but I certainly have been busy putting away lawn furniture, getting gas, getting water. And my son prompted me to go donate blood. So my son and I went and donated blood yesterday. So hopefully you're prepped and ready. I think I'm as ready as I can get. And I just wanted to make sure our lecture was up this week so we don't get too off track. So, young adult materials, the week of September 10th, and let's go. All right, after this lecture, hopefully you'll be able to understand the reason for using a variety of resources for collection development for young adult materials. You'll know the importance of knowing a variety of young adult authors and become familiar with many of them. You'll know about the Margaret A. Edwards Award, that you hopefully have already taken a peek at that. You'll locate resources about young adult authors, and you'll learn about the historical fiction titles on our required or suggested reading list. So, when you're doing collection development of young adult materials, please do refer back to your review sources worksheets. That wasn't just me being evil, it's in the hopes that you have discovered some new sources to look for reviews. You need to know and use a variety of resources, though I will tell you on the job that gets a little difficult to do because you'll run out of time. Less is not best when it comes to collection development resources, but it is okay to have favorites. If you cannot find a review in Voya or School Library Journal, obviously there are a bunch of other sources on the review sources worksheet or the Wilson databases. There are a bunch of other resources, but I always feel like if I've found a review in either of those three sources, in one of those three sources, I've got a good idea it's probably okay. You probably shouldn't rely on your vendors for collection development decisions. I will tell you again, you will be time pressed on the job. I do ask, Follett is my normal vendor, I do ask Follett to create lists for me and send them, but I don't just buy them blindly. I go through the lists. I find it easier to delete things off of a list than to create a big list from scratch. I also have a big budget, so it depends on your budget. If you have a tiny budget, it's easy to create the lists and get exactly what has been asked for or what you think you need. If you have a big budget, like I've had for a couple years, which is a double-edged sword, like it's great and then it's bad because it's hard to spend. Anyway, if you're creating from scratch and you don't have a lot of money, it suits. If you have a lot of money, it's hard to create a big enough order from scratch. So I do use my vendor. There's my qualification there. Do respect your patrons' requests and support them with quality review sources. So my kids, my students know they can ask for books. And when they request a book, I will look up reviews before I put it on the list if I'm not familiar with the author or the book. So sometimes kids request things and I know exactly what it is and I'll buy it, no problem. But keep that in mind. You want to look for a review source if they've requested something so you don't get yourself in trouble. And of course, we want to be a matchmaker between young adults and their stories and information. We want to find them the best quality resources possible. This is probably one area where I'm a little bit weak, but young adults love to learn about authors, and it's a way to pitch books to young adults. So you want to help them make those connections with the authors in their books. They can relate to authors personally, like we learned about Tom Fiderl, who danced in 5 Broadway musicals, or Jack Gantos, who made a major mistake but recovered. I'm going to give you a little hint there. That major mistake was smuggling hash. He ended up in jail and then became a writer. That is something that is a big hook, particularly for if you have young male patrons who are a little bit mischievous, maybe more than mischievous. That can be a big hook to get them to read Jack Gantos. Just a hint there. So talking about the author can help young adults understand why the author wrote what he or she did. Jacqueline Woodson writes about girls a lot, in part because she felt that girls rarely get discussed in books and films, she says. And I want to do girl stories that show strong, independent people. So the girl should not be a token prop to further the story. The girl can be the main character, which is awesome with Jacqueline Woodson. And of course, many of the young adult, particularly dystopian things that have very strong female characters now. But that's been a change since, earlier YA writers. And if we talk about authors to young adults, it is the distinct possibility that we could be inspiring future writers, which is also a cool idea. All right, hopefully you've learned a little bit about the Margaret A. Edwards Award already. It was established in 88, It recognizes an author, his or her body of work, for significant and lasting contribution to young adult literature. It is sponsored by YALSA and School Library Journal. There is a committee of 5 that makes the decision. It honors Margaret A. Edwards, who was an early champion of YA literature. She used to work at the Enoch Pratt Library. That library might ring a bell with you. Other famous librarians, a famous librarian came out of the Enoch Pratt Library in Baltimore. She was there for 30 years. She rode a horse and wagon around New York, distributing books to readers. And she wrote Fair Garden and the Swarm of Beasts in 1969, which is still in print. So, in order to win the Margaret A. Edwards Award, the author must be alive. The author must have been published at least 5 years before the nomination is submitted. You can go to the YALSA Edwards Award page, and there's a $2,000 award for the author. The criteria for the Margaret A. Edwards Award, it includes some of what we've been discussing on our discussion board as far as quality versus popularity. It includes both. So, does the work help adolescents become aware of themselves and address the questions about their role and importance in relationship society in the world? Is the book of acceptable literary quality? Does the book satisfy the curiosity of young adults and yet help them thoughtfully build a philosophy of life? Is the book or books currently popular with a wide range of young adults in many different parts of the country? Does the book serve as a window to the world for young adults? So that's in the awards, policies, and procedures. And as we try to promote good books, getting exposed to them and getting kids exposed to good books is a good idea. So YALFest in Charleston. It's the Charleston Young Adult Literature Festival. The 2018 festival is Friday, November 9th and Saturday, November 10th. Many of the events are free. There is a YALFest webpage, so you can go to that at yalfest.org. And if you are out west, which I don't think anybody in this class is, but if you were, you could go to YAL West in Santa Monica, California in April. So that would be next April. If you are an author fangirl or a guy, another place where you can go meet authors and learn more about books and authors and young adult literature. You can go to Read Up Greenville. That's on October 20th, 2018. That's up in Greenville. That is a one-day meet and greet book festival. I have not been to this one. I must admit, I have not done a lot of conferences or book festivals in the past few years because I have 2 teenage boys who are absolutely full of mischief and I cannot leave them alone. The last time I went to a conference, even though they were supposed to be staying with their dad, they snuck into the house and they were naughty. So I do not travel much yet, but as soon as my youngest one gets out of the house, I'll be going to a lot of these things. Another book festival, this one, of course, if you have not been to the Library of Congress ever, please go. It's fabulous. I haven't been to this book fest, again, because I can't leave my 2 teenage boys alone because they do bad things. But soon I will be free to go to things like the Library of Congress National Book Festival. That's in DC at the Washington Convention Center. The next one is Saturday, August 31st, 2019. If you are interested in volunteering, you could email them at bookfest@loc.gov. As a librarian or as a future librarian or as a library student, you would be welcome as a volunteer for sure. All right, also as you are doing collection development, some of these names should become familiar to you. I am not going to read this list to you, though I will tell you a couple of my, I misspelled Neil Gaiman. Oops, sorry about that. Anyway, some of my favorites are Neil Gaiman, Nikki Giovanni, Margaret Haddix, Jerry Spinelli, Philip Pullman. Love Philip Pullman. Garth Nix is also one of my favorites. You can probably tell that I'm a sci-fi fantasy person. Anyway, amazing list here. There are lists in your textbook. Obviously, anybody who's won awards from ALA for young adult literature, the Prince Award winners, all that good stuff. Keep those people on your hot list or must-have list if you're developing from scratch, or if you're going in and trying to look for holes in a collection that is already there. If you're trying to help teachers or help yourself do research on young adult authors, look in the Something About the Author database available online through Thomas Cooper Library, the Junior Book of Authors from H.W. Wilson, and the Twain's Young Adult Author Series, which is a series of published books, and that's a Gale Cengage publisher. Twain is part of that Gale Cengage group, by the way. And those are published books that you can purchase for a library if you have somebody doing author studies in your school. Of course, there are online resources about YA authors. ALA's great websites for kids, authors, and illustrators. If you click this link, you can get to that. It's got a whole compilation of resources for you about authors and illustrators. Of course, you can Skype with an author. This is often a very cost-effective way to get an author into your school. That "in" is in quotation marks if you didn't hear it. So, virtual author visits in your library or classroom. It's an opportunity to meet authors from around the world. It's free to set up a Skype account plus the author's fee. Some authors may do it for free, and it's definitely cheaper than a visit. Here are 2 websites about Skyping authors. That's skypeandauthor.wikifoundry.com or this katemessner.com site. And I will post these in multiple formats shortly after I do this recording, just so you know. All right, so you may run into, as in my school district, Skype is blocked. You can try Google Hangouts, but of course Google Hangouts is blocked at my school. They've made it a little bit difficult to do these. Hopefully your IT department is a little more rational than mine. But consider some sort of teleconferencing as a way to do an author visit if you can't find the funds or the time to get someone in for real. You should also know about Reading Rockets and podcasts. There are free videos and podcasts with authors. You can view them online or download them to your iPod or iPad if that is available to you in your school or your library. There are over 100 video clips at readingrockets.org. You can also see podcasts, which you may download free from iTunes. There are 46 podcasts, and many are YA authors. So these are 2 great resources for introducing authors to your students, where you don't have to do huge arrangements. You can just download the information and play it in your classroom. Hopefully you have a smartboard. Right, reasons for author activities in classrooms and libraries. I will tell you, I've only had 1 author visit. They cut staffing in my school. I used to have 2 librarians for 1,200 kids, and now there's 1, and now I handle laptops too. And my energy level or my ability to plan something like this has been compromised greatly by increased work duties. So it depends on your school and on your job duties. If you are overwhelmed with other duties, you might not be able to do this. But it was really awesome. The one time I did it, I got Sanford Green to come in, who is a graphic artist, a graphic novelist. So he came in and talked to students and brought samples of his work, which was really cool. It was a really nifty experience for the students. And he happens to live in Columbia, so it was cheap. So, reasons for author activities in classrooms and libraries. You establish a community of readers. It motivates readers. They get curious about the author and then check out the books. It helps them develop reading skills, information literacy skills. It exposes young adults to different types of literary voices and styles. That was part of why I invited Sanford Green, because that was probably about 10 years ago. And the graphic novels were just taking off, and it created a lot of interest and hype around graphic novels. And hopefully, our whole purpose, right, is to help develop lifelong readers. Some activities you could do in a school library or a public library are author reports. Have kids do research. You can do an author study center or display boards about authors, or have students or patrons create them. You can do an author fair where people move around and either meet authors or learn about authors at different stations. You can, of course, have authors visit. That's your ideal. And in preparation for an author visit, you could do any of the above mentioned activities so that kids know about the author. You could create a class magazine or a newspaper. You could create a flyer, a pamphlet. You could create a graphic novel biography about the author. That would be kind of cool. You could write a fan letter to the author. Need more ideas? Check out the Reading Rockets Author Study Toolkit at the link below. That's at readingrockets.org/books/author study. Now we're moving on to our historical fiction suggested reads, moving away from the author specifically to our suggested reading for historical fiction. You're going to choose one of the following titles or choose something else. I'm just trying to narrow down your choices so you're not overwhelmed. Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wine, that was from 2012. The Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hess, that's from 2017. Out of the Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez from 2015. Purple Heart by Patricia McCormick from 2009. Refugee by Alan Gratz, 2017. And Salt to the Sea by Ruth Sepetys. Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wine. This is a carefully researched, precisely written tour de force, unforgettable and wrenching by Kirkus. The Independent says, original, cleverly written World War II story about spies, torture, women pilots, friendship, and the horror of war. And you can see the author's website with a book trailer at www.elizabethwine.com. Obviously, this is highly recommended, and it was a 2012 Prince Honor Award book. A great book with some girl power going on in it, so it would be a great choice. Girl in the Blue Coat by Monica Hess. Beautifully written, intricately plotted, and meticulously researched, Girl in the Blue Coat is an extraordinary, gripping novel about bravery, grief, and love in impossible times. This is set in Holland during World War II and the Holocaust. It is about a young girl who works in a funeral home and smuggles goods, and she ends up getting pulled even further into the resistance in Holland because of her position. Anyway, clearly, I'm not going to read you this whole list of awards. It's got a huge list of awards. Great book. Obviously, it's a book you could recommend as part of parallel reading if someone were doing a unit on World War II. People do units on World War II. Or if someone comes into your public library and says, hey, I'm supposed to get some sort of parallel read, something about the Holocaust, this would be an excellent recommendation. Out of the Darkness by Ashley Hope Perez. I haven't read this one yet, but it's on the list because I've been meaning to. Ashley Hope Perez takes the facts of the 1937 New London school explosion, the worst school disaster in American history, as a backdrop for a riveting novel about segregation, love, family, and the forces that destroy people. This was a 2016 Michael Prince honoree, a School Library Journal Best Book of 2015, and a Kirkus Best Books of 2015 honoree. So obviously very highly recommended. This layered tale of color lines, love, and struggle in an East Texas oil town is a pit-in-the-stomach family drama. A tragedy, real and racial, swallows us whole and lingers. That's from the New York Times Book Review. So obviously highly recommended, and I haven't read it, and I want to. Hopefully you'll want to read this one too. Next on our list is Purple Heart by Patricia McCormick. She does have a tendency to deal with difficult topics. This is no exception. This is a psychological thriller about a teenage American soldier who believes he may have been responsible for the death of a 10-year-old Iraqi boy. This was named by Publishers Weekly as one of the best books of 2009. Timely and provocative, a nuanced exploration of war, heroism, and morality. It was also one of the best books for young adults in 2009. So you can also visit Patricia McCormick's website. It's at http://patriciamccormick.com. And I misspelled McCormick there. Oops. Okay. Anyway, carrying on. Alan Gratz has several things out right now which are excellent, including Refugee. 3 different kids, one mission in common. That mission is to escape. Josef is a Jewish boy in the 1930s Nazi Germany. With the threat of concentration camps looming, he and his family board a ship bound for the other side of the world. Isabel is a Cuban girl in '94. With riots and unrest plaguing her country, she and her family set out on a raft, hoping to find safety and freedom in America. Mahmoud is a Syrian boy in 2015. With his homeland torn apart by violence and destruction, he and his family begin a long trek towards Europe. I'm going to read you this Kirkus review. Gratz accomplishes a feat that is nothing short of brilliant, poignant, respectful, and historically accurate while pulsating with emotional turmoil, adventure, and suspense. That's an amazing recommendation. This is one book that we would hope could provide kids with more perspective and empathy. It's beautiful, very well written. To the Sea by Ruth Sepetys. New York Times bestseller and winner of the Carnegie Medal, masterfully crafted, said the Wall Street Journal. For readers of Between Shades of Grey and All the Light We Cannot See, Ruth Sepetys returns to World War II in this epic novel that shines a light on one of the war's most devastating yet unknown tragedies. This is about a ship full of Germans, mostly Germans, that was left Germany to escape the Russians that were invading. And over 9,000 people died when it was attacked by a Russian submarine. So a huge maritime tragedy. I think it's the largest maritime tragedy ever recorded, with over 9,000 people dying. And most people don't know about it, so it's an interesting look. It's an interesting choice for this author. It's also written with 4 different viewpoints, so you get a Polish viewpoint, you get a German viewpoint. I can't remember the other viewpoints, but anyway, you get several different viewpoints in this book, which offers a very interesting perspective on this tragedy. All right, so we've learned about some new books, or some books you might choose to read for your reading logs and to get more literature under your belt. And so we're going to look at some programming ideas now. One programming idea is Teen Read Week. I would highly suggest using ALA as a springboard for your library promotions. They have prepackaged materials. And once again, I'm going to emphasize that when you get your feet on the ground in your job, most likely you will have limited time. So you can make stuff up, or you can just go to ALA and say, oh, Teen Read Week is October 7th through 13th. Great, I'm going to take their packaged materials and run with it. So, Teen Read Week is to promote reading among teens, obviously. Every year they have a new theme. I love it when their theme coincides with like horror, because I do a big Halloween promotion at my library. When it doesn't coincide, or I can't like work it around horror, you can still do Teen Read Week. You can do your bulletin boards and promotions and get on your school announcements, or do flyers, do all sorts of things, have programming at your public library. So this year's theme is It's Written in the Stars, to read. You could tie that into Space Force if you wanted to. Whatever works for you. Anyway, haven't quite decided how I'm going to promote this year, but I'm definitely going to be promoting it at my school. So Teen Read Week is one of the prepackaged promotions from ALA. Use it. Another prepackaged library promotion that I totally geek out about is Banned Books Week. They change their promotional materials every year, which is nice, so you can lift their promotional materials. They are made for you to take, borrow, cut and paste, republish. They want you to do it, so that's a nice thing. Banned Books Week this year in 2018 is September 23rd to 29th. That is sneaking up on us. I will tell you, I do a banned book activity every year. I visit every freshman class. I bring a selection, probably 6 or 7 banned picture books, and have the class do group work talking about why the book might have been banned and why a library might keep a book. It turns out to be a great activity. I have also used our school button maker to make banned book buttons, like I read banned books, and give them all the teachers. I do flyers. I print lists of the most banned books. I do a display. I really go all out at my school for Banned Books Week and talk about the importance of First Amendment rights. I think talking about those First Amendment rights right now in our political climate is particularly important. So keep this in mind. I have only had 2 book challenges in 20 years. That's working in a public high school in a fairly conservative state, though Columbia itself is not conservative. So that's probably why I've had so few. But be ready to talk about it, and you should also have a challenged or banned book policy in your library and your district. So check and see if you have one of those, just to keep yourself covered. Some due date reminders on upcoming assignments. You should be reading chapter 7 in your textbook. You can probably read that by flashlight if you need to, if you get stuck in the hurricane. I really hope you guys are in safe places away from the coast. I really do. I'm starting to get a little bit worried here in Columbia. Anyway, read the article about authors' visits posted in the weekly course content. Maybe you want to download that to your computer before you lose internet. That's part of why I'm trying to get stuff up to you, get stuff on Blackboard today and get a bunch of your stuff graded today in case I lose internet, which I am quite likely to do. I have horrible internet at my house. Discussion board required forum posts, something about the author, due by midnight on Wednesday, September 19th. Do I have that date right? Yeah, I do. Okay. September 19th. Obviously, you're hopefully by September 13th, tomorrow, you're putting up your 13 reasons why. I see that many of you have that up already, and I will start reading those today. Your author presentations are due by midnight on Thursday, September 27th. Your first literature log due by midnight on Thursday, October 4th. Those are also all on our calendar. Discussion board forum assignment. Obviously, your 13 reasons why has been up for a little while. Hopefully you can get that up. You are welcome to email me if you're having difficulties because of the hurricane. Please do. Please let me know as soon as possible if you're having difficulties. The next one after 13 reasons why, it's due by midnight on Wednesday, September 19th, and it's something about the author. So you're going to choose an author with whom you are not familiar. I need to correct my grammar there, sorry. Read an article in a professional library journal, make your post and respond to a classmate's author post. There are additional details in the discussion board forum. This is pretty straightforward. I don't think you'll have difficulties with this. This is just a great way for you to learn about a new author, and then by reading your classmates' post or posts, you will learn about multiple authors. This is also great for me as I read your things because obviously I haven't read everything. I read a lot, but have not read much. Instead of reading 15 to 20 books a year in the past couple of years, I've read like 5 because I've been in graduate school, just like you guys are. So this is a way to learn about authors and get some more authors under your belt, or get that bee in your bonnet and say, oh, I need to read something by this person. The author assignment is posted under assignments on Blackboard. Read the directions and the rubric before you get started. There is a posted rubric to help you out. You want to format your presentation, put it in PowerPoint or something similar, Google Slides. I used to put Prezi on there, but I'm serious, Prezi makes me dizzy. If you use Prezi, please don't have things whirl around too much. The presentation that you create about your author is for a young adult audience, so it's not for me. I am not your audience. Obviously, I'm going to be looking at it, but you want to be prepping something that would appeal to young adults. You should not include yourself in the presentation, so I'm asking you not to say, I think this is a great book. You should have other recommendations instead. You're expected to use and cite professional resources, not just the publisher websites. Of course, you can use the publisher website, but look for professional resources using databases. And of course, do APA citations. And I'm looking kind of far ahead at the book versus movie assignment, but you're going to choose one of the following books and movies that you have not previously read or viewed. Divergent by Veronica Roth, Everything by Nicola Yoon, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, boo-hoo, that made me cry, If I Stay by Gail Forman, Maze Runner by James Dashner, and Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Follow the directions for writing the paper. It, of course, should be in your own words. Use spell check and follow the rubric in Blackboard assignments. You're going to submit the assignment to Blackboard by midnight, October 25th. Obviously, this is looking kind of far ahead, but if you're someone who's sitting around during a hurricane waiting and watching and thinking, oh, I want to try and get ahead, just wanted to give you some information. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Email me at havercam@email.sc.edu. If you are displaced because of the hurricane, please let me know as soon as you can, or if you know you're going to be. You can message from your phone, access the email from your phone if you can, just let me know. Right now, I think I should be fine here in Columbia. If things get weird, I will try to get to a public library to message you guys because my internet goes out if the dog sneezes. So I will try to keep in touch with you. You keep in touch with me. I hope you stay safe. Make sure you stock up on water and other beverages if you prefer those. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Keep up the good work, y'all. Bye.